Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Well, like I always say, depending on what part of the globe you're in, we have people in the continent of Australia, in Europe, yes, Asia, Mother Africa, North South America, seven continent, over 7 billion people. It is Atlanta Discuss. It's another Friday. Yes, back to Mother Africa, back to Nigeria, the most populous black nation in the world. Nigeria, we tell you, has the largest concentration of black people on the planet. Even in America, 7 out of every 10 black doctor is in Nigeria, statistically proven the most educated migrating bloc to two of the seven continents in the world. Some will even say three, some will argue four. 1 out of every 6 black person on the globe, on the planet, that is black, is a Nigerian. The country clearly acting behind schedule. Disgraceful. Clearly, in 1960, when the country got independent, it was the beacon of the black world, the hope of everybody black. Mandela said it, Martin Luther King, everybody dies in the diaspora then. They were not even of Nigerian origin. The continent had hopes in Nigeria. Today, Nigeria is battered almost beyond repairs. We are worried. Is the problem ethnic? Is it ethno-religious? Is it tribal? Is it just that the people are not ready? I have said in the past that it does look like the people may just be inherently dishonest with themselves. There's a lot of corruption in the land. No known institution or government in Nigeria is functioning at least more than 50%. You understand? And I'm saying that without fear or favor. The Nigerian judiciary, as we all know, is not doing what it should do. The people have lost hope. The police institution, the legislative arm of government is nowhere to be found. The elections, like I've said in the past, used to be free but not fair. Now they're not free, they're not fair. So wherein lies your hope for this great hope, this beacon of the black world? Well, today we're going to talk about the underlying causes of ethnic violence in Nigeria. And while researching into this, I had to go all the way to Moscow, Russia, to go and look for my good friend and brother, erudite scholar, Dr. Bashir Obasekola. Dr. Obasekola, welcome to Atlanta Discourse.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here again.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Obasekola is an economist, like I said, doctorate. So you know that, he's a community leader, advocate for diaspora engagement, renowned for contributions to the Nigerian community in Europe and Russia. Naidua, he has been president in the past. He has also been continental president in Europe also. So he's a man that is very vast, and he's also a major advocate on the Nigerian diaspora giving back to Nigeria. Clearly a scholar. Russia, Nigeria is one of the most vibrant in the whole world. They have a lot of, materials, quality human resources there. And a lot of it is due to the effort of people like Dr. Bashir Obasekola. He's a dedicated community leader, and he's been involved in NIDO, like I said, and based in Russia. But then you're Nigerian at heart. And I'm sure you're not happy with all the things that are happening in Nigeria. So that's why we need to treat this once and for all. I mean, we know that we'll just say it. It doesn't mean the solutions will come. But people are confused. What really is happening? Underlying causes of ethno-religious violence, the cattle rearers. It just looks like there's instability almost in every state in Nigeria. So what do you think are the underlying causes of the ethnic violence in Nigeria? Are there any historical, cultural, economic factors that contribute to this conflict? Dr. Bachekola, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here again. And
Yes,
of course, I will say my heart goes to the victims of the violence. Even recently, yesterday, day before yesterday, and throughout the week, we have been receiving, quite a very disturbing and, very saddening, news about, the recurring, issue of, killings, unnecessary killings, and the brutal way they do it and all those type of things, get everybody worried. And of course, we in the diaspora, we are exposed to most of the news, and as a result, we even get more agitated or more disturbed than even people at home. Sometimes you call people, maybe if they are not in that location, you call them, oh, how is Nigeria? Say, well, we are here. We are so, what would you hear about so and so? Oh, no, we've not heard, those type of things. So But we here first, so I say my condolences to them. As to what is actually the cause and the reasons why this thing continuously, being the situation in Nigeria with our multi-ethnic, country, Nigeria. Of course, it's a complex one. The reasons are very complex, are very multifaceted. I believe, first of all, if we go to the historical background, you can also see that there have been tribal wars. If you call it, they call it wars different those days. Empire and one empire conquering another empire. One town overcoming other towns and all those stuff. I think it has always been the case. And what is the major reason for those type of conquering and counter conquering each other is for resources. Even in Europe, if you go to European history, you can also discover that there have always been that intertribal war between different tribes, especially one trying to dominate the other and the other one trying to resist, and as a result, they start killing each other. But the situation in the modern Nigeria is, of course, we were amalgamated, people never knew they would be in the same country, find themselves in the same country, now claiming rights to, the same land that you fought for, or maybe you were, you are indigenous to that land, and somebody is coming now to invade the land. Of course, it become, something that is, agitating. So the first thing is, reasons of, resources, land. Land is, the factor, very big one. Given the climate change also, the situation has been aggravated by that. The herders who are used to nomadic system of husbandry, I can call it, rearing their cows and, all those from one place to the other, then encroaching into somebody else's land, and especially those land are not fallow land. They are land that, with plantations already, people spending their resources, their money, their, woman, hours on those land, planting something, and, a stranger, encroach into your land and with their cattle and others. And when you resist, of course, it became a problem. And, cows are more valued than human beings in these type of things. So the first is resources. The second one is also, lack of trust in the system. That is in the governmental system, the security system, because they say the major reason for government is, security of life and property of, the citizenry. But when citizens don't trust the system, that, okay, if somebody encroach to my land, I can just go and report to the police, they will come and, take care of the situation, and you'll be compensated. Of course, you will not, risk your life or even trying to resist what they are doing. What you'll be waiting for is compensation from government or from the people who are involved. So that is also the breakdown of the system of, security and compensation and justice. The third one, which I also see, is, of course, I think it's emanated from, the recurring situation of attack that is now turned to ethnic cleansing, trying to push some people away from certain places, maybe permanently, by this type of terror attacks. Because when you terrorize people, people get afraid and they might not even go to that location again. There are reports that some villages are, empty now because of the fear of, this type of attacks. So we can also say that it is also, as a result of, the issue of resources now using the ethnic, difference in language to identify. For example, you say, okay, who are these people who are herders and attacking people? Okay, they are the Fulani and Hausa. Okay, then of course you see them as enemies, and those people, the Hausas and those, they see other tribes as their enemies. So it becomes ethnic fight, between even people who doesn't know, who don't know what happened. They just got attacked and killed just for nothing sake. Oh, because their tribe men or women has done something, they now come to a village, set fire on it, kill anybody they see on the road. People know nothing about what has really happened. So it became ethnic, decline. Then, of course, religion, even though initially it might not be the aim of what is going on, but because religion has become part of our ethnic identity, because you can see that major, religions are dominated by certain ethnic groups. So if you attack, for example, statistically, if you attack any village, for example, in Benue State, in Plateau State, the possibility that the majority of the victims will be Christians is higher because those places are occupied, populated by Christians. So the
Absolutely.
same way, so if a other is, of course, maybe the other side, if you attack a place that is dominated by the Muslim or the Hausas, so majority will be Muslim. So it has always been that tragic, recurring things that has led to where we are. So these are the factors I think. As of course, the other ones are political. People inciting certain groups against the other, seeing them as enemy, and even going to the public to to proclaim them. And especially when now I'm even afraid. Why I'm afraid now is like we can see from what is going on in Nigeria now. It seems elections are setting. People are already aligned and realigning. So
Exactly.
exactly. So those things we also play out. So attacks and all these ethnic clashes and all those things might be aggravating as we move towards 2027. But we're still in the middle of 2025. But unfortunately, our politicians are taking election and all those things as a trade, trade. And every day you hear is not how to benefit with their leadership of the citizens, but rather the election coming, who will win 2027, we are still in 2025. So those things will also be part of what will be aggravating, unfortunately, the security situation, especially ethnic and religious clashes, I will call it, that is going on now, which is, of course, being carried on under the umbrella of farmer others, clashes. So
Interesting. So let me ask you this. It's not new. All these problems are not new. They've been there for a very, very long time. And it does look like the government itself is helpless. The government is helpless, the military, the police, the organs of state that can actually quell these things. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, Africans, we are, I can say we are people who are driven by some of the factors that actually been the cause. When we saw, you spoke about the cause, we mentioned ethnicity, religion,
Uh-huh.
resources, politics, and these are the things that also drive women. And these people who are our law security agents, personnel, they are also been unfortunately been
Ethnically induced.
ethnically inclined or religiously inclined or
Oh
or
God.
politically inclined. So
Right.
sometimes they act when they know that okay, this thing is against their own side of the thing. But when it is not against, then they will put a blind eye to that. So and that is what is driving, because when people don't trust that the law enforcement agencies will be neutral, we deal with issues according to the law. Of course, the people will take laws into their hands. And that's why you see people, gathering vigilantes, community watchers, and all those things, or even people gathering themselves just spontaneously, gathering themselves, following, we want to go and repress all those things. I remember I was in, from Ondo State, or when some people came to the church to kill, some of the worshippers.
Yeah, I remember the story. Yeah.
Yes. And when I was at home, some youths were already, trying to gather themselves for reprisal, so to go and be looking for these people. And of course, how do you know them? You can only identify them by, okay, they are Fulani and all those things, or foreigners, or all those things. And of course, that would have aggravated the situation. But thanks to the, quick, attendance to the issue by the then governor, may so rest in peace.
Aketi.
Yeah, Akiti. who had to speak to his people, like, okay, please, let the law take its course, and the Amotekuns and others, we find them out of stuff. So just to tell you that people can spontaneously, gather themselves and also react because they don't trust the system. So it becomes something like street or mob, justice, like they do, set fire on people who they feel, looks like those people, just for like that. So it is a lack of trust, and the people who are in the helm of affairs in the security agency, the army and the police, they are also being, overtaken by those.
They are culpable.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh, wow. So, I mean, you said something that really interested me. Election is around the corner. It's not around the corner.
He's
It's
already on there.
the
The
politicians are
chess,
making it
the chess
around,
is
yeah.
already being
So,
played.
yeah, and it's sad because every time politicians start, governance stops.
Yes.
Governance stops completely. And it's like the government, they don't care. So now, what am I asking? What am I trying to say actually? Our last election, the last election in 2003 was very brutal. It was violent. Our elections are, you know what I'm talking about. And it does look like 2027 will be a battle royale from all indication. What does this portend for Nigeria? What do you think? I mean, I've discussed with people and I said, do you even think we'll even get to that 2027 before everything just comes at the rate at which we are going? What do you see? What do you think the government can quickly do also to nip all this in the bud? Yeah, it's not looking good. We're looking like
Yeah.
South Sudan now in Nigeria.
Yeah, I know Nigerians are actually very stoic and resilient people. We easily forget and forgive, at least of temporarily, until it comes again. So I believe we will overcome it. We will surely overcome, because why I say so is because we have gone to precipice, to limits that we think, oh, something, this
It's
thing,
all over.
the whole country will turn upside down. But you will just be surprised the way the thing will just go, and oh, okay. I remember when in 2015, when Jonathan, would not make it, people, of course, the whole country was in apprehension, because we know what it means, especially the then President Jonathan was, from that South, and of course we know the aspiration of those people, which is, of course, I can't say justifiably, believing that, of course, the country mostly depend on the resources from that area, this and that, and of course, and the president losing out, and eventually, when the results were coming in, and the agitation of Orubebe, I think, if I call Mr. Orubebe, who was already, agitating and talking directly to people, of course, being broadcasted live, and of course, I was worried. Actually, I thought something will happen. But before you know it, the next day, President Jonathan called and said, well, he doesn't want any bloodshed. So Nigeria will always get to the stage where we all think. But what is bad in that area is that, investors, business people, you'll be apprehensive, because people will stop. We want to know, okay, where will this thing go? Hope this and that. Hope my business will not go into disarray because of this. And so it stops, like you said, it stops, all government things that we're supposed to have benefited the people. So I believe that we should pray that the resilience and strength of Nigerians, and the forgiveness, we always overcome our emotions, etc., temporary setbacks that we always have. But we should not, overstretch it. We should, the government, when I say we, I mean we Nigerians, of course, the government being the head of every movement, should, believe and take people, very serious, that we can now continue like that forever. Of course, generations are growing. There are different, what do I call it, mentality now. People are exposed more than in the old days. And we can also see that we have a lot of, some of these things that make people feel, even when you don't meet any other tribe, you are already, growing with the hatred for the other side. What I mean by that is this issue of when you are in school, I don't know, you do an exam, you get certain marks. They say you fail or you couldn't make it, but somebody other from the other side or from other regions get the same or even lower mark, but it gets in there,
Yeah, I know. That's
you know.
embarrassing. Yeah.
Exactly. So those types of things actually make people grow up with certain hatred, for each other, because I've actually also tried to know from, especially the new generation,
Mm,
how they feel. A lot of them have a lot of bad, things in their mind,
mm,
which is because of this issue. Because, somebody from Anambra State, for example, getting, high mark as 300, 200 or 300, you cannot get to university, but somebody who gets 100 gets there. And before you know it, he gets,
from Yobe State. Yeah.
yeah, from Europe, Zamfara, all those stuff. And he
Mm,
gets to the university, uh, and of course gets graduated earlier than you do, and he gets to the government, maybe it becomes a government officer, and before you know it, he becomes a director higher than you do, and all those type of things. So
mhm,
he actually make people also hate each other. So some of these things should be addressed. I believe that yes, there should be that motivation for people to catch up, you know, I mean,
mhm,
educationally disadvantaged areas. But there are ways to do it, not to
mm,
lower the standard, but rather to say anybody that gets this thing, you get scholarship. For example, scholarship could be given to people from those areas to help them, to motivate them, but you shouldn't lower the standard because of you want to, encourage the other side. But people should be, I think it's high time we revisit some of those policies that make people grow up to hate each other just for nothing's sake.
mm.
So when something happens now, of course, those things just spoil it. It's just they say, from abundance of, it's
They had
called the mouth
the
speaking.
mouth speaking. Yeah.
Yes, and actually, like you were saying in Yoruba, that nǹkan téèyàn bá ń rò ni ọtí máa ń pààyàn mọ́. That is,
Mm.
nǹkan tó ti rò tó lè ṣe, you
That's why
cannot,
you say when you're drunk.
you
Yeah.
cannot voice it out until you get intoxicated by alcohol. Then you say it out, or, then people will wonder, oh, how did he get it? But because you have been thinking about it and be worried about it.
Mm,
So this type of things, crisis, also be aggravated because of some of these issues, which I think it is very necessary that we visit and reshape it in a way that we encourage people to know that they are equal citizens of the same country.
Let me ask you this. There's something you said that really interested me about when you talk about Jonathan. I know what the answer you gave was talking about the God factor. That's the way God will always come to intervene in Nigeria. But when Jonathan left, Buhari came in. It's almost concluded now that Buhari was a disaster. Buhari messed up. I mean, I'm sure it's common knowledge now. Probably the worst head of state we had. Bearing when Tinubu leaves, we don't know yet. Now, do you think, with all that has happened during Buhari and that is happening today, do you think President Jonathan was unfairly treated because he was a minority?
No, I don't think it was because of being a minority
Mm.
in terms of, I think it's because of the geopolitics and, a lot of factors played there in Nigeria.
Well, if you say geopolitics and Ijaw is minority.
No, I mean, yeah, minority, well, you can call them
Mhm.
minority because of, if you look at the Nigerian population, I mean, external factors.
Okay, all
Yes,
right,
external
that's true.
factors,
We've read about that, yeah.
that, of course, intervention of some states,
Mm-hmm.
because we had later, even President Jonathan also expressed that the intervention or some pressure being, mounted on even before elections. So,
Mm-hmm.
and when the election results were coming in, of course, there were signals all over the place. Oh, if you do this, this will happen. And because
Mm-hmm.
being a peaceful person, you can, of course, a professor, is a lecturer,
Mm-hmm.
came to politics because he wanted to serve his people. So his own approach to politics is different from people who were military, who were, because imagine if that had happened to somebody like President Obasanjo, or President, somebody like Buhari, for example, when it
Uh-huh.
happened to him earlier years. Of course, you saw the way the thing turned out, that there were a lot of, bloodshed, So, but President Jonathan was a peace, at least a civilian, I can say, a real grown-up civilian, and who never thought that politics would be so dirty. So he gave up, that just to save the whole country. And I believe, of course, from one side, you can say, well, maybe it was unfairly treated. Maybe they allowed him to express himself, at least to give what his own version of what he's thinking. Of course, we know the issue was not so smooth. The election was not smooth. Of course, I remember that he couldn't even vote. When he went to his polling booth, he had to wait, very patiently, this and that. So, of course, some people are capitalized on those things and aggravate, but he didn't use that against the system. He decided that, well, let it go. And I think it's good. We could commend him. So I don't want it to be attached to, he was treated because it was a job. Because that will also aggravate the people in his own tribe. Because those are the things we should be careful to do.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, we should be able to analyze things as they
Objectively.
are,
Yeah, fair
not to
enough.
use the correlation of ethnicity or
Yeah.
religion to explain what is going on.
Well, it's the problem is there. We can't hide from it. It's a clear and present danger that we have to live with. And let me ask you this: if you meet President Bola Tinubu now and you're in a situation to advise him, what will you tell him?
Well, I will let him know that, of course, first of all, building a nation or creating a nation is not a tea party, like they say. It's not an easy task. There are a lot of fundamental things that needs to be changed. Like I mentioned, that's I alluded to this different treatment of citizens. There are things that you need to do that will make people, even when they go through trials or challenges like the way they are doing now, they will feel that they are building their nation. They will not feel they are being shortchanged. Like you say, okay, austerity measure, cut down your expense, cut down this and that. They should see you also practicing it.
That's true.
They say when you see people, the leaders doing what they preach, of course, people will follow because they say, oh, this man, no, because I remember when after the election of 2015 and President Buhari came in, within 3 months, even before he set up, this change, people they think he's coming like the military when he was a military man, with the war against indiscipline. People thought that will happen. But when later on they discovered, like, oh, he's already a politician, and there was, of course, he was sick and everything was weak and all those things. So he couldn't control the situation. Of course, people went back to what they were doing before. So the same thing I will tell President Tinubu that he should know that this is a serious thing to do. He should also think about the foundations. There are a lot of things that have to be readjusted. Even they call it restructuring, all these type of things. I think he needs to revisit them somehow. Even if he cannot get the 100% of what everybody wants, but there are things that he needs to push as foundations for future nation building, which were distorted after 1966, coup, that couldn't allow them to actually put Nigeria in the structure upon which he can survive. Because so things that are happening, okay, this ethnic crisis, all these things, people are divided, all over the place. It is also because of the foundation that is distorted from the beginning. So I think he should address that. Then, of course, the issue of, economy, he should, inclusiveness, bring this thing down to, more people should be involved, not all the same people, because when they say, okay, they are doing housing, this and that, you see the same people buying it, the same people, but, there should be a system that makes sure that there is a control that spread this thing out. The more people benefit from government, the more they become loyal. So why Americans say, oh, we are American, because they know, there are things that they benefit for being an American, So also, if you say you are a Nigerian, you should know the reason why you say you are a Nigerian. You want to claim that, not only because of you holding passport, but because you know that there are things that you get, for being a Nigerian. So I think those are the fundamental things. Because for other things, infrastructural development, human development, or healthcare, security, those things will now be able to, you will be able to, start easily addressing them when you put up the structure, when you restructure, take care with the structure to make sure that it's more accessible or more acceptable by people. Then also they have the loyalty to those structures than the one people are seeing as not expressing their own aspiration now.
Let me ask you this before we go to something else. You said something about the 60s and all that. When I asked you what advice can you give President Bola Tinubu when you see him, so you said putting some things into shape. Now, are part of those things confederation or going to a parliamentary system of government, including things like maybe having state police and all that? Like today now we operate the presidential system of government like they do in America. I've heard very exposed people, scholars, say that it's too expensive, it's too over bloated. It takes the president and public office holders far away from the people. That if we operate a parliamentary system of government, that will be better for Nigeria. So my question is, do you think we should consider parliamentary? And the second question is, when you said the president should do some sort of restructuring, does that include, when you say devolution of power, state police, and what have you? Over to you, sir.
Of course, from the second question, of course, devolution of power is very necessary because that will also help you to know which structures, will handle certain things. So restructuring is, of course, devolution of power is very important. The security issue should be brought, closer to people, so that states and even local governments could have, control of, security apparatus. To be able to handle at least internal security. Of course, the issue of I won't consider confederation because we are past that stage. That confederation would have been available. I think federation that we have is okay, but the issue is the states, delineation of states. Of course, some states were created not because of economic reasons, but because of politics, or because they want to, maybe divide or reduce the power of certain ethnic groups. They are, divided along certain, border states and all those things. So it becomes something that is also agitating people, not making them feel happy. So I believe that should also be addressed. As to the issue of which system of government, parliamentary or presidential, we believe that while the current presidential will practice, of course, it makes the president, because it makes the executive is the chief executive of everything. Who is in charge of economy? You cannot call president to come and question him anyhow. He's somehow protected, and that's the system of actually how parliamentary system, how presidential system is, because president is overly protected. You don't question him too much. He requires a lot of bureaucracy to invite him to the parliament to come and answer questions. He's far from the people, and it's not because he doesn't want, because the system wouldn't allow you to do that. So I believe if we have a combination, we should have a prime minister. A prime minister, of course, which is a way of making it just the way, in France, I think in France, they have president and they have prime minister. Some countries have that type of, hybrid of presidential and parliamentary. I think we could have something like that so that people will know who they should ask for to resign. Because now they say vice president is the chairman of the economic council. But you cannot ask the vice president to resign because of economic policy. So it doesn't make, but if there is somebody in charge of, prime minister who is in charge of economy, then that, okay, it's elected from the parliament, it's a parliamentarian also, it be questioned every day. And we have, deputy prime ministers, which can be shared, along this our
Six
geopolitical
sub
zones.
geopolitical zone. That's
Yeah,
true.
so because people are asking, oh, maybe how many vice do we have? Many vice presidents. I think that would be risky. I
Mm.
think the best would have been to have prime ministers or deputy prime ministers who are chosen from each geopolitical zone, so that they will be in charge of their geopolitics. They will be in charge of the economy, because that's what concerns people most. So from that, everybody will know which region, which is not doing well. Is not doing well with the economy. And of course, if there is a proper devolution of powers, then of course they will be in charge of what is devoluted to them as given to them as a function. And of course, the money will follow them. Not that they will give them function, the money will not do. Allocation should be given. For example, interstate, maybe within all roads within a state should be given back to states. So that the federal government will be in charge of only interstate, so that people will know who is not working. Because, for example, you travel from one state to the other, you discover that the roads are bad. They say, oh, it's federal road. I said, how come? Federal road within your state, it should be your road. Any road within the state should be state road. So that everybody will develop at their own pace,
At
and
their
people
own
will know,
pace, yeah.
okay, this person is doing well, the other one is
And
not.
the allocation to the state will be higher.
It will be higher, yes, because they should be giving all those things, like why so that
But
people will
from
have
the concurrent list, you just
exactly.
spend
Road
so
should
much
be,
yeah.
yeah, maybe
And
railway can be federal, but
then
but roads should be,
railway, defense,
yeah, exactly. They should
foreign
not be federal,
policy.
yes. But the roads, so that people will know when there are problems. People can also always say, okay, from for example, you are traveling from Lagos to Ogun, you can say, okay, after you left Lagos, the road between Lagos and Ogun is federal, and it's not being done. Then people can know that, oh, it is federal that is not doing their work. But now you go into states and roads are bad, they say, oh, it's federal road. And these are very, very important roads within the state, and it's because to the federal, and the federal is not doing it. So I think, those are the things we should revisit, alongside the political structure and, form of government that we're talking about.
Do you think our problem is majorly just failure of leadership? Because most of these things you've said, I mean, I've spoken to people on this same program, Atlantic Discuss, and they've said that whether we go for a sovereign national conference, whether there's devolution of power, remove this from concurrently, that all those are just by the way. That the constitution, as the 99 constitution you're using, which is an offshoot of the 79 constitution, they're still practicable. But what the problem is failure of leadership. That if our leaders can just live up to the billing and act like leaders, selfless, stop embezzling and all that, that will not be in the kind of situation we're in. So do you agree it's failure of leadership?
Like leadership, is very important in anything, even in the private business, even in families, this and that. Of course, leadership is very important. But when you are talking about a diverse country that have a lot of things that we've been speaking about, all those sentiments, all those emotions, this and that, it's very difficult to, take it all. You need to spread out. You need a lot of people to be involved. So
Delegation of
that is
power.
why, that's why the structuring matters, because the structure matters. You get more people to take responsibility of their areas, so that you have people to ask questions.
So you think the Nigerian president is too powerful?
Yeah, it's too powerful and too
Yeah.
isolated.
Okay.
From the people.
From the reality of the day.
From the reality of the ground, because it cannot be everywhere at the same time. So, but there are people that's why I say deputy prime ministers who will be in charge of geopolitical zones. There are people you can ask. There are people he can ask, because, for example, if I take even Russia as an example, sometimes we are amazed at which, the knowledge he has about what is going on. It's not because he traveled all over the place. No, it's because he has, they call them representative of presidents in his they also have geopolitical zones also, just like Nigeria. They have, they have 86 states, and they have geopolitical zones, and he has about 12, deputies who are in charge of each of them. So he calls them to the public. He'll be asking them questions like people ask, oh, there is this fight in here, there is, road bad here, this and that. He will call that minister, the deputy minister who is in charge of that region to come about. Now the president cannot call any governor.
Mm.
Yeah, so the system is just from, you cannot call any governor and ask a question. We say, who are you? You are the president there. I'm the governor here. I'm the one in charge of my state.
Mm.
He cannot call you to question. So, but the prime minister who is representing the president, to see those regions can come and tell the, oh, yes, our projects in those, our federal projects in those areas are this and that. Oh, that road is not our own, no, it's the state owned. He will come and tell the public all those type of things. But now we don't have. So the president there, he doesn't know much because it's only what is.
They're actually isolated. That's true.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
what they tell
isolated.
him actually.
The system makes him isolated. He cannot go anywhere anyhow. And this is not a military. The military were able to successfully use it because they had their command and control system, where the governors of each state is a military man. So he can call his this thing and ask questions, and they say, oh, you are fired. He will replace you with another person. So that's one of the things that the military were able to use to control the government.
Talking about military, the president recently declared a state of emergency in Rivers State.
In Rivers State, yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you agree with me, and a lot of Nigerians will agree that there are other states in Nigeria that actually need declaration of state of emergency. And I think I read it somewhere this morning that the president wasted a lot of political capital declaring that emergency in Rivers State, whereas this will have been a good opportunity to do same in Plateau or anywhere else. But because he has done that in Rivers, it is now, because everybody's going to kick against it now. Because, I mean, there's a Supreme Court judgment that made that even at, I think it was during Jonathan when they declared emergency that governors were not removed. So the question really is, do you think he's blown that capital, that political capital, by not being able to declare the emergency in where it's really needed, having done in Rivers State?
Well, it depends. That I say, of course, our constitution is also very tricky one, because you can see that even
the Constitution tells you that the governor is the chief security officer.
And
it doesn't control.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that even if you read the 307, if I'm not mistaken now, the item where the
for state of
issue
emergency
came up, 305 or 307.
I think it's 305.
Yes, where they were saying, you can see that it's not only when crisis has happened. If you perceive that it will happen, that is, so it is to
you can preempt it.
Yeah, discretion. So he can tell you that, yes, you have not seen those things, but I have a security report that says tomorrow or next or 2 weeks time, or they are already, preparing. So that is where it's very, I think the parliament or the people, the law, this thing, because when you give, that type of, futurism assessment or subjective, because it can be subjective. He can Absolutely. Say, so that's why he was able to do it. And of course, the interpretation being given by different people, that the reason why he did it, of course, like you mentioned, there are other states that have similar, even worse situation.
Even worse, I mean,
Plateau.
Yeah.
Benue State, Plateau State, where people are being killed any day, every day. Those places are not being, declared as security and emergency declared there. But for political reasons, Rivers State became a target because of the resources there, one, and also for political reasons. So these are the two things that played out there. We cannot hide from that. I'm also believing that if it is his own party, his political party, maybe he wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, he spoke against it. He criticized Obasanjo when he did
it. Yes, if it is a APC state, I don't think he will easily declare state of emergency and removing the governor, because he will use other means to do that. But because, of course, it also pays him being, from the other party, just to show them that, he's in control of this thing. But I believe the Rivers State people should, know that they are also important, region of the country. And whatever happens there concerns everybody. So if
Mm.
the president says that, oh, okay, he's afraid that things will go worse and all those things, I decided to intervene. They should, just cooperate and let peace be. So I will just have peace for peace.
Interesting. So let me one more thing on River State. When they voted in the House, it was voice vote. What do you think about that? Do you think such a matter of such a serious proportion should have been voice voted?
Yeah. Actually, I'm not happy with our system. I will tell you the truth. Not only for this particular situation, but this particular situation now actually also, confirmed my position why I don't like the way we practice our own parliamentary system. Why I'm saying so is that you really know where each parliamentarian stands. Only if they speak, but not all of them speak. So you don't know how do they vote. How will you assess them? So many people assess parliamentary activities only by their what they call it, constituency project, this and that. But that should not be the only one because yeah, they are representing a region, but they are also mine. Even though I'm not from their state, they are also mine parliamentarian. They are also to do things that I like.
Yeah, they are representing. They were
Exactly, they
elected
are
to
representing
represent.
us. They are representing the people. So I should be able to assess to say, okay, this man from senator from Zamfara State, yes, he's saying what I like. He's voting the way I like. I should be able to trace him and follow him and even go and contribute to his election campaign. Not only from my own state, I should be able to go to other states to come to because so person is doing what I like, even though I'm from another state. I can even contribute to this state. So our system is not working. So we should be able to do a proper, voting in the House, especially in this type of issues, and particularly when they say, okay, the Constitution says 2/3. How do we get 2/3 from voice? It's absurd. Even though,
It's
yeah,
absurd. It
I
is.
believe that, yeah, let it go. But it shows that our system is not. I think maybe some of the senators might hear our interview.
Oh, they do actually. Some
Yes,
of them they do.
yes,
Yeah.
I believe that yes, in as much as we don't, things should be done properly. Yes, we might doubt that the president was not right, this and that. But when you want to confirm, because the constitution says the only organ, because when this thing happened, people were asking, oh, how will he go there? I say, well, everything now depends on the parliament, because that's what the constitution says. There's no other, even the court cannot just say it until the parliament says something. So the parliament was the only organ the constitution was allowing to confirm what the president has done. And they went ahead to confirm in that manner. It was just, my colleague just said, hey, Dr. Bashekola, you were saying, oh, the parliament, look at what they did now. I said, wow, yes, I'm very, very ashamed about that because I thought they will surely do proper voting so that 2/3 will be confirmed. Because then by then they will have, remove every doubt about what has happened, just for the future purpose. Because in future now, people will say, oh, that voice, this thing doesn't portray. Was 2/3 met or not met? Nobody knows.
It's okay. Let's still on the parliament. When you answer this question, you always make me remember something.
Yeah.
This woman, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, was suspended. I mean, my question is this. I mean, and that's really, I've really thought about it. I mean, the Senate president, for all intents and purposes, is primus inter pares. It's just first among equals. I mean, even though there are a lot of discrepancies on issues of how Akpabio got to the Senate, but they're all equally elected by their
elected
people.
and represented.
Yeah. Is it right for an elected public official to be suspended by other elected public officials? I mean, I've been trying to look at the Constitution. I know there's a window for 2 weeks suspension in the Senate, but 6 months. I've read the judgment of the Supreme Court that says so. I don't get it. Now, the people of where she's representing, that particular senatorial district, is not represented in Senate. Is it fair?
Yeah.
I mean, outside whatever harassment or you understand, is it fair?
Yeah, of course, it's not. And I think it has been said several times Before I think Ndume was sometimes
Senator Ndume, yes.
what the name the guy from Kwara Kogi State what's the
Is
name
it
now?
Melaye?
Belaye,
Yeah, do you know?
a lot of people have been, such suspended, and the court has said they don't have right to suspend
Not just
people.
the court, the Supreme Court.
Yeah, Supreme Court, yeah, that they cannot suspend someone for more than that 14 days. The reason for the 14 days is just to show disciplinary, just as a discipline action. But here you are suspending an elected somebody representing a constituency out of the parliament. And even the way they suspended her, with those, she cannot come any near to the parliament, she cannot go anywhere. That was absurd anyway.
I mean,
Like
it's
she didn't go
irresponsible.
anywhere to introduce herself as senator. I was when I was hearing what they read out, I
Oh,
said,
God.
where are the lawyers? Where are the people who are versing? How can they allow this type of thing? Of course, one thing you are disciplining somebody, with all those suspension, this and that. But when you list out people, you are forgetting that you are not only punishing her, you are punishing this constituency. Are you
Absolutely.
ostracizing that constituency out of the Nigeria? For 6 months, because you said she cannot go anywhere, introducing herself as a senator. She should not come near this thing. Even they were saying the workers who were working with her that was given to her but they should not pay them or something like that. So, of course, it was absurd, and I believe it was taking it too far. And it shows, and I think that is what is agitating, make people even sympathize with her. Because people now
Yeah,
saw
she
that,
has a
oh,
lot
it
of
is not
sympathy.
only dictionary, this is beyond
And
dictionary.
she's going around the world, all the
Yeah,
international
yeah, yeah.
media, everybody is listening to
And I
her.
think some of the parliamentarians or the senators who, of course, they cannot speak outside. I don't know the reason. Like you said, the president of parliament or the senate is, one, is equal, in terms of, it's just that
Yeah, it's just primus inter
yeah,
pares, among
exactly.
equals. That's
Yeah, of
all.
course, yeah. It's just like, of course, he's in charge of the presiding to make sure there's orderliness and all those things. Like a manager of a section of the group, you know. But they are forgetting that representation is what makes a parliament a parliament. You
That's true.
know, you
My
represent,
last question to you.
you know.
Yeah, I know you're very busy. The time difference is much. You're in Moscow,
No
I'm
problem.
in America. So now, President Obasanjo just said recently, former president, he said the type of democracy we're operating in Africa, it's not working for us. That we have to try and evolve something that works with us. You understand? And if you look at everything we've been talking about today, even though we're talking about the underlying causes of, ethnic violence, we discovered that representation, has caused problem. Some will say Fulanis are more favored in education, in this. There's a lot going wrong. Resources, like in Nigeria now, the Niger Delta has more of the oil resources. Have they gotten the real chunk of what they want? To really need to live together and all that? But the core issue is the former president said we need a type of democracy that works for Africans by Africans. Do you agree with him?
President Obasanjo has a lot of his, but especially I think he always developed a lot of ideas after leaving office.
Okay.
Of course, he was a military head of state. He
Mhm.
became president, president again, and of course, he has a lot of advice. And yeah, of course, he has seen it by practice. Of course, he wanted to write down, the other thing is to practice. Of course, there are a lot of things that our culture has made us to be. So of course, our democratic system, of course, needs to be, localized, or so if you use that word, bring it closer to how are we, who are we, what is our culture to issues. But the problem is that, of course, that will also instigate the issue of this, maybe you call it, everybody now bringing his own superiority from his own ethnic background. Okay, for example, you say, okay, who from Yoruba land will be if you are using the Obas, as our representatives, our leader, or representatives of the people. How do you incorporate them into the system of governance? And I think that discussion has been going on for several. They don't know what to do. In UK they have a House of Lords.
Mhm.
Do we bring that type of system whereby, the obas and all those things come to form a particular
Yeah, I
arm
think we
of
used to have
government?
that in the First Republic.
Yes, arm of government
House
whereby
of
they
Chiefs
can
or
also be
something like
part
that.
of. It didn't work, so how do we evolve? So a lot of things have to be thought very much through.
Do you think we need to talk again?
Yes, yes, we need to look over all some of these things. Of course, there are things you can borrow from here and there,
Mhm.
but then we should see that it will not also lead to more division,
No, the first.
more,
Okay,
fighting
well,
for
we
for
are
for.
pressed for time, but I will not let you go because you're in Moscow without talking Russia and Ukraine. What do you think will be the end result? How do you think that
Uh,
will?
Well, for somebody like us
Just 2 minutes.
who have been there for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we know with Soviet Union, and of course we look at them as brothers and sisters.
Mm.
We never knew that we ever come to
Mm-hmm.
to come to this level of war.
Mm.
Yeah, there have been differences, of course, intra-ethnic
Mm-hmm.
supremacy are always on historically between the two group, or of the same people. It's so unfortunate that led to an intervention from outside. Because once they say when two families are fighting and you allow third party to come in, of course, you will not come to compromise easily because everybody will be coming to resist, especially historically when one side has always been willing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how much you know about Ukraine itself, the
No,
history.
I do. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
quite a bit
You will
actually.
see that historically there has always been that agitation for separation from
Mm.
Russia.
Mm.
They are always wanting it, and they are always looking for support from
Mm.
Polish, from
Mm-hmm.
German, from Americans, from UK.
There are
And
referendum for independence had
yeah,
over
that
90%.
was in 1991 when they had
Uh,
the opportunity to do that. But what I
mm.
mean historically, even far, far, far
Historically,
in
I understand.
centuries,
Mhm.
there's always having that issue of rivalry. So now that the opportunity came for more power to come into this, of course, it led to this war. So I pray that they will be able to at least settle down for peace. But the problem is the issue of that region
Mm.
that are mostly, Russian. I don't believe it will be easy for Ukraine
Mm.
to get to that area again.
Mm.
Even if they get there, the same people will not feel comfortable with the
Mm.
general, region, country
Okay.
Ukraine. So if they agree to say, okay, those regions for peace, for prosperity of even for Ukraine to be able to settle down. I
Mm.
believe they should just, allow that region to just go and stay with you.
That's those regions, including Crimea.
Yeah, Crimea had been always part of what Russia sees as its own.
Mm.
And of course, and when you look at the history, of course, it has always been like that. Of course, they gave it to Ukraine because Ukraine was part of Soviet Union.
I think what we'll do, I'll create time and we'll have a special discussion just on this
Discussion
topic.
on that. Of course,
Yeah, I
although,
think
even though,
so.
yeah, even though we don't want to, see them as those type of
Mm.
perspective,
I say
but
maybe
we believe that
when
the
April now,
peace,
maybe sometime in May,
yeah,
we'll
peace
begin to
should
talk
be,
about it. Yeah,
peace should
because it's a
be,
hot topic in the world
is a
now.
hot topic, and I
Yeah.
think peace.
So we have an online newspaper now. I have on Atlantic Digest,
Okay.
and we're always talking about it. Also, there's a
Mm.
focal point
The
on it,
focal point.
and where it's going, the role of the
Mm.
West, the Europe. The
Mm.
Europeans are scared also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Yeah, that's why I
Latvians,
went to that history because German,
uh
French, and English, of
especially those ones that were in former Soviet Union,
yeah,
the
they will not.
Latvia, the Estonia, the Lithuania.
Yeah, they will not be
I'm going to bring you
comfortable.
back for that. Don't worry.
They will not be
Dr.
comfortable
Bashir
with that. Thank you so
Obasekola, thank you so much. I always enjoy talking to you. Erudite scholar.
It's
He's
a
an
pleasure.
economist. A community leader, advocate for diaspora engagement. He's been president of NIDO in Russia. He's been president of NIDO in Europe, two-time continental president. Yes, and he's well known in Russia. He's been there. He's been adjunct professor, I think. He's an adjunct lecturer at Department of Finance, Accounting and Statistics at the People's Friendship University of Russia. Pardon my pronunciation there. So he's well known there. His vital statistic, erudite scholar, you can see from his and Nigerian representation in Russia has been very good, especially the Nigerian block. I follow what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you. And To our viewers, you've heard from the man. Underlying causes of ethnic tension, it's land, political, resources, religion, and so on and so forth. But we have to find a way around it. It's not fair. One dead body is bad. Not, you don't need 50. One is bad. It's just unfair. People have lost their life for no just cause. And in most cases, they're innocent people, you know. It's the United Nations Charter is clear on it: freedom of speech, freedom of association. It actually says freedom of disassociation, so people will be able to move around, farm, and source for their livelihood. Nigeria deserves more. Nigeria deserves to have peace. There's no progress without peace. That's the key thing. I mean, even if you have the requisite leadership, there has to be stability. And it does look like we might have to discuss how this will work. You understand?
Yeah.
The grazing issue.
And strengthen our border control also.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's going to be a wrap there. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.